And welcome back. We're going to go ahead and take a quick review on some of our things that we've learned with classes and references. Let's just go ahead and look at this example here real quick. I threw up, I have a class called computer. I don't have it fully fleshed out because for our purposes of what we're going to look at, this will be enough to at least get us started. So we have 3 private string instance variables. We have a no-R constructor. We have a parameterized constructor. And I have our toString method in here. I should have an equals method and some accessor and mutators in here as well. But just for us to demonstrate some of the things we're going to do today, this will be enough to at least get us started. Now, with our main class here, we have a class called beep boop, and I have a PC1 object set to computer and a PC2 object set to Linus, desktop, and Linux. So what I want to do is, of course, just print these out, just to go ahead and demonstrate what these values are. Because again, we're looking at the reference values here. So we're going to system.println, and I'm going to output PC1. And then let's go ahead and do the same thing now. Let's do system.println of PC2. And if I go ahead and give this a quick run, we should of course see that we have 2 different values here. So I'll just wait for that to print, and we have null, 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 and Linus, desktop, Linux. Perfect. Now, what's if we go ahead and say PC1 equals PC2? What is going to change now? So I'm just going to copy these 2 print line statements just so we can easily do this. And we go ahead and put that in. We're going to actually head here. That's setting PC1 equal to PC2. Save that, give that again a quick run. And now you see we get Linus, desktop, Linux, Linus, desktop, Linux. Perfect. But now let's say I want to change one of these values. So then I'm going to need a set method in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and add in a set method. So let's just do public set computer. And I'm just going to grab this set of string parameters here just to make it easier for myself real quick. And all I'm going to do is I want to set these values here. So I'm going to say set computer. I need a return type. Let's do a should be a void, yep, because we want to just simply set those to those values. So we're not returning anything. So computer name is equal to PC name, computer type is PC type, computer OS is OS. Perfect. And so now back in here, let's say we want to take PC1, and we're going to call it set computer. And now let's set this one to Larry. Let's make Larry a laptop. And let's set his operating system to Chrome. All right. And now again, let's go ahead and do these 2 print line statements just to see if that changes anything. So again, run it. Now you notice we get null, 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 Linus, laptop, Linux, Linux, desktop, Linux, Linus, desktop, Linux, and now Larry, laptop, Chrome comes out both times. Even though I didn't change this one. But it's because when we set this equal to this, what did we do? We ended up updating the reference. Now, if I go ahead and change this to PC2 here, and not PC1, you notice we get the exact same result. And again, that's because when we say with 2 class objects, whenever we set it equal like this, what did we do? We didn't actually update the values, we updated the reference. And so this is something to keep important to keep in mind. If we did this with like integers, it doesn't matter as much. But with class types, we have to be careful about this. Now, if I wanted to update those values, I could have another method that could, for example, find out what those values are. So I could have some class that allows me to set equal to. So, for example, let's just say I want a method that's going to do that. Let's just call this public void set computer equal. And what we're going to do is we're going to have to take in some type of object, right? So we're going to go ahead and take in, let's say, a computer object here. Obviously, just careful where you put your curly brackets here. And then once we have that, then what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, now we have this computer object. What can we do with it? And you could very easily start saying, well, we can, of course, take these pieces here and start setting it equal to that. So I could, of course, come here and do PC dot, computer name. Of course, if I do that, what is it going to do without giving an error? Well, yes, because notice we, of course, are doing a reference to that. Now, this, of course, can potentially lead to some issues. A better way might be you could say, oh, maybe I want to use instead a get method here because I think that will be better. And again, that's fine. But let's just go ahead and test this out just to see what happens. And so we want the computer OS here. Okay. And what I'm going to do is now, instead of using this, let's use our set computer equal. And I'm going to pass in PC2. Now, let's see what happens if we run our code. All right, you'll notice that now we still get null, 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 but we get Linus Desktop Linux, Linus Desktop Linux, Linus Desktop, which makes sense because we're setting it equal. But then we changed PC2 here, and so now PC2 does not have that same value. If I go ahead and change it to PC1, we should see something similar again. And so now we got Larry Laptop Chrome. And again, this is allowing us to pass in a computer as a reference object. We do want to be careful when we do things like this, though, because remember, we did talk about potentially running into issues where we might be bypassing certain security parameters. So, for example, a better way might be saying, you know what, we're going to say get PC name, and I'm just going to leave this no parameters here, and all I'm going to do is return. I'm going to return what? The computer name. And so, oh, I don't have a type here. I need, there we go, string, and now it's nice and happy. So instead of saying pc.computername, what if we said pc.getPCName? And of course, that will do the same thing. And one of the advantages of doing it that way is that we are not going to run into the issue of potentially bypassing the security requirements that could happen for that. Now, again, it does work, but using something like our get method does, of course, keep some more of those security restrictions in place. So if we go ahead and copy this and add this in for our other variables, so instead of get PC name, let's do this. How about get PC type and get PC OS, and then we'll just change this to computer type and computer OS. All right, and then of course, if we change these to those other methods, so get PC type dot get PC OS. All right, again, we should see the exact same results, boom, and which is what we get. Now, both ways again do work, but one way is, of course, if you remember, going to be better for the security integrity of our program. And this is just something to keep in mind if you're going about making some of these things. Because remember, these three things here, the name, the type, and the OS, are private instant variables that belong to the computer class. We can inadvertently, through references, access those. And having things like our accessor methods instead might be a better approach if we want to retain some of it. If we're not as worried about it, no big deal. But I just want to make sure you can see that you have those two things as an option if you are starting to write code. And just to get you in the habit of knowing how these classes work and how we can handle various references.